We're talking about how entrepreneurship can foster a free society and a Christian worldview, and my ideas have changed a lot about this since the beginning of the course. I always understood that a Judeo-Christian consensus at our foundation is what helped us to have a free society and a free market economy and the entrepreneurship that went with it. And I always thought it had to be in that order: Christianity first and then the freedoms to follow. Francis Schaeffer wrote in his book, A Christian Manifesto, that repressive governments will never be able to produce the type of freedom and form that we enjoy here in America. So to me, the corollary of that was that you can't just take a democratic idea or free market principles, dump them into a repressive government, a country, and expect it to flourish. It's a hostile environment for that type of thing. And so I just didn't think it would work, that order. But I've come to see that there's plenty of evidence to suggest otherwise, that in fact that you can insert entrepreneurship into a hostile environment and you can get freedom and you can get a Christian influence. So here's a few examples. The first one, Free Frank. He's the pre-Civil War slave who won his freedom, who paid for his freedom. And then he started to endeavor in all these types of business pursuits, and he won entrepreneurial profit, and he took that profit and he bought the freedom for child slaves. And so there's a clear connection there between entrepreneurship and freedom. A more contemporary example will be the way that we're trying to combat human trafficking. Women are vulnerable to this, and so the reason why they're vulnerable is because they're not financially independent. So Westerners are trying to train these women to start their own businesses, to become financially independent, to be their own entrepreneurs, and so they're no longer vulnerable in this sense. Entrepreneurship, again, leads to freedom. How does entrepreneurship lead to a Christian worldview? Well, this example was right in front of my face all summer. I just didn't really think about it. We had some friends who were on furlough from India, the mission field there. They have a Bible college. They said in the last couple of years, the Indian government has really clamped down on how much foreign money can enter the country. So all the money that they raise while they're here on furlough from American churches, not all of it can get there as quickly as they would like. So Christian entrepreneurs have come over and train them on how to start their own businesses so that they can rely on their own streams of income. So for example, the school has opened a school of music for outsiders to get piano lessons or voice lessons or whatever. And the money that they gain can go to the operating expenses of the school. And of course, it's a win-win because they're still able to pursue their main goal of spreading the gospel because they can influence these kids for Christ. And of course, the school exists itself, the Bible college exists to train men to go back into their home villages and to start churches from scratch, and many times without very much financial backing. And so before they go, they're trained to start their own little businesses. They can produce a service like teach lessons in English or reading, or they can even market a commodity like a water buffalo milk, and they can keep that on hand to sustain them and to sell to the community. All of this is probably in response to the best example ever of an entrepreneur promulgating a Christian worldview, and that's the Apostle Paul. We all know he was a tent maker. I really don't think that there was a tent-making conglomerate where he can just transfer from one place to the next while he's on his missionary travels. Like, they transfer from the Antioch office to a subsidiary office in Derby. I don't think that happened. I think that he had his own business and he sold tents. And because he was able to do this, he was an entrepreneur, he was freed up financially, and he could start churches all over the Mediterranean world, write a huge chunk of the New Testament. And if that's not an example of entrepreneurship fostering a biblically based Christian worldview, I don't know what is.